today's video is all about beans and legumes. I get so many questions about how to eat beans from dry, how to cook beans, and also lots of questions about eating beans without having any bloating or gases. So obviously I'm not a medical professional or a nutritionist, so I can only share some tips based on my personal experience. I have started incorporating more legumes into my diet about 7 years ago when I changed my diet to a plant-based diet. At the time, I definitely was not eating legumes on a regular basis, so it definitely took me a little bit of time for my body to adjust and to digest so much more fiber. Fast forward 7 years, now I eat beans pretty much on a daily basis. They are a huge staple in my diet. They are one of the most nutritious, dense food on the planet. They're cheap, affordable, they store really well. And I feel like especially right now during this pandemic, more and more people are turning to eating beans, which is great. So today I want to share with you 3 easy recipes to use beans to make them taste absolutely delicious, and I also want to share with you my personal tips on how to eat beans without having too much gas or without feeling bloated. So tip number 1 is actually to start using lentils instead of beans if you don't eat legumes on a daily basis. So there are so many different types of lentils. Some of my favorite are beluga lentils and red split lentils because I love dal. Lentils have a much thinner skin, so they digest much easier compared to beans. Also, lentils don't need any soaking. They get quite mushy, especially red split lentils. You can cook them straight from dry. They only take about 15 to 20 minutes to cook, and as I said, they do digest much easier compared to things like black beans or kidney beans or chickpeas. Tip number 2 would be to start slow, and when I mean slow, I mean with very small amount, like maybe like a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons a day. If you never eat beans before, your body will definitely take some time to adjust because beans, legumes are so rich in fiber, and if you're not used to it so much fiber, your gut and your digestive system might be like, whoa, what's going on here? So definitely start slow. And I would also say that consistency is key. So try to have, as I said, maybe 1-2 tablespoons every single day. In that way, your body will slowly adjust and it will be so much easier to digest them. Tip number 3 would be to soak your beans. I know this is a bit more time consuming, but soaking your beans from dry can really make a difference if you are struggling to digest legume. The gas compound of the beans, it will be kind of like discarded into the soaking water, and you can also cook them for much longer, making them really soft and quite mushy, so that way they will definitely be easier to digest. And my final tip would be to eat mindfully and chew really slow. Take your time over your meal. Maybe don't be distracted by computer, YouTube and emails, and really take your time to chew your food properly. That way, obviously, you will also digest it much better. These are my tips, and I really hope that you guys find them helpful. If you have any more questions about eating beans, chickpeas or lentils, please let me know in the comment down below. And without further ado, let's go into my 3 favorite frugal with minimal ingredient recipes to make beans taste absolutely delicious. The first recipe which we're gonna make is a spicy refried beans, and we're gonna start with a glug of oil in a large frying pan, and then we're gonna add 1 white onion finely chopped, and we're gonna saute the onion for about 5 to 8 minutes. You wanna see the onion to start caramelize and starting to go brown around the edges. As you can see, the onion is now nice and brown and caramelized. We're gonna add in 2 crushed garlic, 2 jalapeno peppers. You can also use 1 if you don't like it too spicy. And we're gonna cook it for another few minutes. And then we're gonna add in 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika and half of a teaspoon of ground cumin, and we're gonna cook it for another minute just to make sure the spices are fragrant. After that, we're going in with 1 can of pinto beans, using their water as well, which is going to help to deglaze the pan and to create that creamy and delicious consistency. You can also use black beans or kidney beans. We're also adding in 250 ml of veggie stock. We're going to give it a good stir and we're going to let it cook on a simmer for about 20 minutes until the beans have thickened up and they're nice and creamy. At this point, you can either leave them as they are, or if you want like a smoother consistency, you can give them a blend using a hand blender. I know these refried beans don't look particularly appealing, but I promise you they taste so much better than they look. I love them in tacos with some cherry tomatoes and some chopped avocado. They're so scrumptious and they're so versatile. You can also have them as a nutritious dip with some tortilla chips, or they're also a great addition to other dishes like burrito bowl with guacamole, rice, and some salad. The second recipe which I'm going to make is a smoky tomato baked beans, and for these recipes I'm using cannellini beans, but you can also use haricot beans. We are using beans which we soaked from dry, so all I've done is to soak these beans in plenty of water overnight for about 10 to 12 hours, and in the morning they will have double in size. And after that we're gonna drain them, rinse them, add them to a pressure cooker with a pinch of salt and plenty of water until they're covered, and we're gonna cook them for about 20 minutes until they're nice and soft. And after 20 minutes in our pressure cooker, the beans are nice and soft, exactly like the one that you buy in cans, and they're perfect to cook with. So for the rest of the recipe, we're going to add a dash of oil to a frying pan with some cherry tomatoes. You can also use tinned tomatoes if you don't have fresh on hand. 2 garlic cloves finely chopped or minced. And we're going to kind of saute the tomatoes with the garlic for about 5 to 7 minutes until the garlic is starting to be quite fragrant and the tomato are starting to pop. We're also going to add just a dash of water to prevent from burning, and we're going to keep cooking for another 5 minutes before we add 1 heaped tablespoon of tomato puree. We're going to give it another really good stir and cook it on a kind of like a low heat for about 10 minutes until you have a rich and creamy tomato sauce. And after 10 minutes or so, once you have a quite smooth tomato sauce, we're gonna add our cooked cannellini beans, and we're gonna give it a really good stir and let it cook for about another 5 to 10 minutes. And then we're gonna season it with some sweet smoked paprika to give them that kind of like a smoky flavor. Give it another really good stir, and then we're gonna add some salt and some cracked black pepper. And our beans are done. They are so delicious. They are perfect for brunch, for breakfast with toast, or even if you just want to have them with a big salad, maybe some rice on the side. I also like to add some chopped fresh herbs if I have some on hand, and some chili flake for an extra spicy kick. They're definitely one of those recipes which I make over and over again because they're just so simple and so good. Final recipe is a modified pasta e fagioli. So we're gonna start by sauteing some onion in a dash of oil, and then we're gonna add 1 finely chopped carrot and half of a celery stick finely chopped as well, and we're gonna saute the veggies on a medium heat for about 5 to 8 minutes. You wanna start them to soften and caramelize before you add in some crushed garlic, some smoked paprika, and some dried mixed herb, and then we're gonna give it another stir and cook it for a few more minutes just to get the paprika nice and fragrant. And we're gonna add some tomato passata. You can also use some chopped tomatoes.
Mix again and give it a really good stir and cook for a few minutes before adding some veggie stock. We're gonna add in 1 can of drain and rinse mixed beans. You can also use things like black beans or borlotti beans, whatever you have on hand really, and some pasta. I'm using mezzi rigatoni, but you can use obviously any kind of short shaped pasta that you have. You can also do gluten-free if you are gluten-free. This recipe is really flexible, so use whatever you have in your cupboard. You want to give it a really good mix to make sure the pasta is coated in the sauce, and you want to let it cook for about 10 to 15 minutes depending on your pasta until the pasta is cooked. Make sure you keep stirring because the pasta do tend to stick to the bottom, and the result is the creamiest, sloppiest, most indulgent pasta ever. It's one of my favorite Italian recipes. I love adding some grated vegan parmesan, some fresh basil, some chili flakes. Is literally the best comfort food recipe.
So these are my 3 favorite frugal, minimal ingredient, cheap recipes using beans. I really hope you guys can make this at home, and if you do, please don't forget to tag me on your Instagram stories and posts. I really would love to see your creations. I really hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are staying safe and healthy, looking after your body. It's such a weird time and I'm still struggling to wrap my head around it. I have days where I feel like very productive, and I have days where I just want to lie on the sofa, watch Netflix all day and eat chocolate. It's just a very roller coaster of emotion. But I hope that cooking will give you some kind of relief, some kind of like peace. That definitely works for me. I love cooking, it's my therapy, and every time I do just take some time over my meal, I just feel so much, more relaxed and more at peace. So if you've never really been a fan of cooking, maybe now is the time to get stuck into the kitchen and obviously cook some beans. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to click the subscribe button, and I will see you again in the next video. Thank you so much. Bye.